Alright, so moving on with clauses with before and after. So let's look at this table here. So there's some information here. Watch the news, 6 p.m. or 6 o'clock in the evening. Eat dinner, 7 p.m. Take shower, 9 p.m. Go to bed, 9:30 p.m. Alright, so I can say here, I watch the news at 6 p.m. I eat dinner at 7 p.m. I take a shower at 9 p.m. I go to bed at 9:30 p.m. Now, if I wanted to use before and after, I can talk about sequence, right? So I can say, let's say before. Let's use before, all right? I watch the news before I eat dinner, all right? Or I can say, I watch the news at 6 p.m. before I eat dinner at 7 p.m. All right? Let's look at before again. I eat dinner before I take a shower. Or I can say, I eat dinner at 7 p.m. before I take a shower at 9 p.m. All right? Let's look at after. All right? Let's look at the sequence after. After I watch the news at 6 p.m., I eat dinner at 7 p.m. After I eat dinner at 7 p.m., I take a shower at 9 p.m. After I take a shower at 9 p.m., I go to bed at 9:30 p.m. Okay, so that's how we use clauses with before and after. Let's take a look in our book here. Let's turn over to page 74. All right, now we're going to get into it. Lesson C, adverb clauses. Here's the grammar focus. Clauses with before and after. Use before and after clauses to order activities in a sequence. All right, to put activities in order in the sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4. I do this, then I do this, then I do this. The after clause introduces the first activity. The before clause introduces the second activity. All right, so the first clause, the after clause introduces the first activity. All right, the before clause introduces the second activity. Now you can pause here and watch the video that's associated with this barcode. So if you're not on your phone, you can actually scan this on your computer screen with your phone and watch the video for this lesson. All right, but let's look at some of the examples here. All right, let's look at after. After I watch the news, I eat dinner. All right, so over here we see watch the news is first activity, eat dinner is the second activity. All right, because the after clause introduces the first activity. All right, let's look at before. Before she eats breakfast, she reads the newspaper. Reads the newspaper is the first activity. Eats breakfast is the second activity. We've used the word before, so if we look at the at the definition, the before clause introduces the second activity. All right, so that's why eats breakfast eats breakfast being the second activity is the first thing they talk about. Okay, now if we notice here, we have two clauses. After I watch the news, comma, I eat dinner. All right. After I watch the news is a dependent clause. All right. Because if I just said after I watch the news, the first thing you'd probably think is, what? What do you do after you watch the news? Tell me more, right? So you have a question. The clause I eat dinner is a complete thought. There's really no question there. I eat dinner. Okay? Before, she eats breakfast, comma, she reads the newspaper. Two separate clauses, right? Before she eats breakfast is a dependent clause, right? Because if I just said before she eats breakfast, you'd ask me, what does she do? Keep going. If I said she reads the newspaper, that's a complete thought. Okay, so this is a dependent, an independent clause. All right, let's move on down. She reads the newspaper before she eats breakfast. All right, she reads the newspaper before she eats breakfast. All right, before introduces the before clause introduces the second activity. All right, so reads the newspaper is the first activity, eats breakfast is the second activity. I eat dinner after I watch the news. Here's the sequence. I eat dinner after I watch the news. So the first thing I do is I watch the news. Then the second thing I do is eat dinner. All right, so the first thing, watch the news, is the first activity. Eat dinner is the second activity. That's how we use after. The after clause introduces the first activity. Useful language. Use a comma when before and after clauses are at the beginning of the sentence. When you read out loud, pause after the comma. So after I watch the news, here's my pause, I eat dinner. Before she eats breakfast, here's my pause, she reads the newspaper. All right, let's move on. So we took a look at clauses with before and after, all right, and we defined them. We figured out what they are and how to use them, right? When to use a comma, when not to. When we're talking about an independent clause and a dependent clause, all right? So now let's take some time and practice, all right? Number 2, practice. A, look at the two activities in the exercise and find them on Bonnie's morning schedule. Which happens first? Which happens second? Number them. Then write 2 sentences, one with after and one with before. Okay, so let's look at Bonnie's schedule. At 6:55, she takes a shower. At 7:15, she gets dressed. At 7:30, she makes coffee. At 7:35, she brings in the newspaper. At 7:40, she eats breakfast. At 8 o'clock, she leaves for work. Okay, so let's look at 1 and 2. The examples 1 and 2. They're already done for us, right? After Bonnie takes a shower, comma, she gets dressed. All right, so after Bonnie takes a shower, so that's our dependent clause, right? She gets dressed. That's our independent clause. All right, so which one happens first? Well, she takes a shower. And then what happens second? She gets dressed. Makes sense. Okay. Number 2, Bonnie takes a shower before she gets dressed. Okay? We don't have any independent or dependent clauses here. This is all just one complete sentence. No need for a comma, no need for a pause. Bonnie takes a shower before she gets dressed. The first activity is Bonnie takes a shower. Then before, okay, so that's the next, that introduces the next activity. She gets dressed. The next group, 3 and 4, we use the phrases get dressed and make coffee. So let's take some time, pause the video, and write down which one is first, which activity is second, according to Bonnie's morning schedule. Number 3, we're going to write in a dependent clause and an independent clause. And number 4, we're going to write in a complete sentence with the word after in the middle. All right? And we're going to go ahead and do number 3 through number 10. So let's take some time and do that. All right, let's see what we got here. I'm going to work through this as well, and let's see if we match up with our answers. Number 3, before Bonnie makes coffee. Before Bonnie makes coffee, comma, she gets dressed. I think that would go there. Number 4, Bonnie makes coffee after she gets dressed. All right. Number 5, Bonnie brings in the newspaper before she eats breakfast. That's number 5. Number 6, Bonnie eats breakfast after she brings in the newspaper. So we switch those two. All right, eat breakfast and leave for work. After Bonnie eats breakfast, comma, she leaves for work. Before Bonnie leaves for work, comma, she eats breakfast. Okay. And make coffee and bring in the newspaper. Number 9, after Bonnie makes coffee, comma, she brings in the newspaper. That's what I think. And number 10, number 10, before Bonnie brings in the newspaper, comma, she makes coffee. All right. Let's see. Let's match up our work. Let's see how you did. If you have any questions, let me know in our Zoom call, or you can email me or send me a WhatsApp message about this lesson on page 74, and we can go over it together. Let's move on. Okay, so now we have a chance to have a discussion using what we've learned about before and after with clauses. Okay? This would be a good chance to have discussions on our Zoom call if you want to. So let me know if you cannot have this conversation with somebody. And you know, it's also good if you team up with somebody in our class. Zoom is free, and I can easily teach you how to use it to have conversations amongst yourselves in English for our class. All right, and you can always videotape it and share it with each other so that you can go over it and figure out what you need to work on, what questions you have. Maybe if you want to ask me a question based on your conversation, we can do all of those things with technology. I'm going to try to keep as close and interactive as possible using our technology. All right. So when we're looking at this page, if you do get a chance to have these conversations, which would be a good thing, talk with a partner. Ask and answer questions about Ken, a soap opera star. Use before and after. All right. So now we have these 8 pictures of Ken. He's a soap opera star. Number 1, works out. Number 2, eats breakfast. Number 3, goes to the studio. Number 4, memorizes his lines. Number 5, puts on makeup. Number 6, talks to the director. Number 7, performs his scene. Performs his scene. Right? We don't pronounce the C in that. It is just scene. Okay? And number 8, goes home and rests. Goes home and rests. Whew. Okay. So the questions are, what does Ken do before he eats breakfast? Before Ken eats breakfast, he works out. Second question, what does Ken do before he works out? Answer, Ken eats breakfast before he works out. Okay, so now you can take some time and work with your partner, right? You can ask questions like, what does Ken do before he talks to the director? If you were talking to me, I would say, Ken puts on makeup before he talks to the director. Or I could say, before Ken talks to the director, comma, he puts on makeup. All right? Let me know if you have any questions about that. Okay, so number 3 is communicate again. This would also be a good subject for us to talk about in our next meeting. All right, work in a small group, which is what we do. Ask and answer questions about daily activities. Complete the chart. What do you do every day, Emma? I study. What do you do before you study? I watch TV. What do you do after you study? I go to bed. Okay, so Emma's, on the chart here, Emma's activities are everyday activity, study. Before activity, so before she studies, she watches TV. Her after activity, after she studies, she goes to bed. Okay, so we can take some time to look at this and talk to each other and maybe ask each other these questions. What do you do? What do you do every day? I study. What do you do before you study? I watch TV. What do you do after you study? I go to bed. You could even ask her, maybe somebody in your home, the same thing. It would be a good way to fill out this chart, and we can have a good discussion about it using before and after clauses. All right? Okay, so now let's turn over to page 76. Lesson D. This is our reading section. Number 1, before you read, look at the title. Answer the questions. What are some rules about time in this country? What are some rules about time in other countries? Number 2, read this article. Listen and read it again. So here I've put in the barcode. I've highlighted the barcode here. It's the same barcode as this one. And I put this here so that you could scan it with your phone and then listen to the track. If you have the older book, you can listen to the second CD, CD number 2, track 6. Okay? But if you don't have the CD, you can always scan this barcode. All right? Rules about time. So this little box here gives us a little heads up, a little more information. Dashes often signal a definition, explanation, or example. The dashes in this reading signal, dashes in this reading signal examples. So let's take some time and let's read and listen to this story about rules about time. All right, in the next video, we will continue with lesson D and continue the unit by finishing up lesson E and F. Okay, so as always, you can always send me a message through WhatsApp if you have any questions. You can also email me, fisherman060@aol.com, if you have any questions, and we can address them and talk about them, and I'll get you some answers. All right, so until next time, we'll see you later.